Hello. Today I'm going to be briefly discussing the legacy of colonialism in Africa for the Week 5 video assignment. Colonialism in Africa has left a massively important impact upon the entire continent. The effects have penetrated political, economic, and cultural spheres with lasting consequences. The chaotic political effects, coupled with the devastating economic impact of colonialism, left deep scars with many African countries, although it is arguable that some positive effects can be extracted from the story. A lot of the political impacts from colonialism were seen once the decolonization process had taken place. This process was done so quickly and suddenly in most places that it served as a political shock to many countries who did not have time to plan or strategize their new independence. The chaos came from many leftover colonial effects, like hastily drawn ethnically problematic borders, or the lack of an educated and experienced political class in power. Factors like these created an unhealthy pattern of single-party, non-democratic political systems in many countries, such as Mobutu and Kenyatta pictured here. The unhealthy political system also fostered military coups, like in Ghana or Nigeria, which served to create even more instability, which is really the buzzword for this post-colonial Africa. The story of Africa's economy was similar. Even though colonial powers had formally withdrawn from the continent, their presence still lingered. Colonies intended to be moneymakers for their mother countries were not set up to be self-sufficient, and that they suffered greatly because of this. Only focused on cash crop production under European rule, newly independent African countries had no idea how to subsistence farm anymore, and thus had to rely on expensive foreign imports for these goods. Their transportation systems had been set up to benefit the European countries' import and export goals and were not conducive for intra-African travel or trade. The former colonies were also in massive debt to many of their former colonial rulers, which skyrocketed even more after the 1960s. The economic impact of colonialism was to foster lingering dependence upon colonial powers, even after they had exited the African continent. It's difficult to find any positive aspects of colonialism, but for the sake of the argument, I'll point out a couple. Colonialism opened the door for Christianity to enter Africa, which many religious people did and still do view as positive. Christianity and colonialism also arguably helped to bring some literacy and language benefits to some parts of Africa. Colonialism, at a great price, helped expand African markets on an international basis. And overall encouraged, in my opinion, a great surge in African pride and unity among African peoples in the face of such adversity, and brought this continent into the bigger worldview. Colonialism undoubtedly stunted the growth of Africa, both politically and economically, and the ramifications are still being felt today. It is a mark in history that must be learned from and acted upon so that nothing like it ever happens again.